Okay, I'm late for a very important date. Y'all remember Alice in Wonderland with the rabbit was always rushing? That's me. That's me this morning. I'm rushing only because it's been a busy morning. I got so much going on, and I was trying to make sure. In fact, I have to get my glasses back here. I put them because I left my computer upstairs. I thought it was downstairs, but it was upstairs. But anyway, how are you? What you doing? What you got going on? How are you doing? I'm fine. I am fine. I am uh, in my cool summer outfit because it's already probably 100% humidity here and it's extremely sunny. So I'm glad for the sun. I'm happy for the humidity because, I'm like that. I like it warm. I like it warm. But anyway, today we're going to talk about trees. As I was riding with my daughter yesterday, I kept looking at the different streets we were going on to and how beautiful the trees were. And I kept saying, wow, there's something special with trees. Something special when you look at them and they stand tall and they almost have an overarching view of both the sky and the earth, and they're looking at and you're looking at the beauty of what they hold. It's astonishing to me. I'm always caught up in nature. Now I got to be honest. A bee will run me in. Yesterday I was outside because my daughter and I have been doing this little we have this bond where all of a sudden we like plants. Well, I've always liked plants, but I always did them inside, especially live, fresh flowers I love. So I go get them. I'm not gonna worry about anybody else getting them for me. I will go by myself fresh flowers. And my favorite, if you ever buy me flowers, are the black-eyed Susies. So I like them, but I love any kind of flower that's fresh. In fact, right now, I have to show you. Hopefully, I'll remember before I get out of here. My gardenia bush, which is now a tree outside my front door, has the front area smelling wonderful. So when you step outside, it smells really good. So I do have that. And in fact, I'm going to run and get it for you right now. Hold on one second. Hold on. I'm coming. I didn't used to know how to keep track of them and keep them alive, but I learned. Look how beautiful they are. I only took down I only took down two of them, and I just think that they're so beautiful. They just add something to the decor of the house and the smell of the environment. Just absolutely wonderful. So anyway, I'm having fun with them, but I also have this thing with my daughter where we're just been beautifying our front areas. So I got some shepherd's poles and some different things, and I had some yesterday. I picked up two at Hobby Lobby, and they were only two. They were $2.99. They were half price. And so when I got them home, I know why they were half price because they can't really hold a heavy plant. So I had to switch out the plants and switch them around to make sure all that would work. But it looks good out there. That's all I got to say. It's looking pretty good. So anyway, I found the two poems about trees that I liked, and I said I was going to share them with you. Um, the first one is by Joyce Kilmer called Trees. And it says, I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. Tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast. A tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray. A tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. Good morning, Joan. I like that poem. And I think we used to say that poem when we were little in school, And then I had well, yeah, and I do have another one. I do have another one. And this one is called well, maybe it just printed it twice. Oh, it printed it twice. Never mind. So anyway, I only have one poem, but it was another poem that basically was like a 4-year-old's poem. The tree that stands so tall. I wish that I could be not so small to see the tree above me high. I love it in the sky. I just made that up. I didn't have I don't know what the poem said. I got to be honest. Good morning, Adelia. Good morning, good morning, Polly. How are you all? How are you all? I'm having fun this morning. I've just decided to have fun, to realize that life is good. Life is good. I can look outside my window here. I can see my flowers that are growing outside my front door. And then I have some fresh flowers that someone gave me Sunday as, for further celebration of my birthday last week. And so those flowers are doing good, and they are sunflowers. So I'm having fun. But anyway, how are you? Do you love trees? Let me hear it. Put trees. If you love trees, just put a heart in a tree. Or you can put 2 trees if you want to. But I love trees. I do. I love, as I said, anything outside, as long as the bees and the fleas and the gnats and the flies. In fact, if you want to clear me out of a restaurant, let me see a fly up in there. I'm ready to go. I just have never been a lover of flies or anything that's flying around and I'm about to eat something. No, thank you. So anyway, let's talk a little bit about trees. And I'm going to ask you, are you stuck sometimes in saying, should I go sit up under the tree or should I just sit inside and look at the tree? Sometimes, it's a quick decision or an easy decision. Like when I go to my outdoor jazz, concerts, I never sit back in the bushes or near the trees. No, because I know little worms and a whole bunch of other stuff be falling. That's not me. Or birds letting down. So I generally will sit out in the open area and just take my umbrella. And long as there's no acts on in terms of the show, you can leave up your umbrella. So that's how I get through it. But I still got a good tan. even with the umbrella up, the sun was fierce that day. So it says a tree. It says a tree is a woody perennial plant, typically having single stem or a trunk growing to a considerable height and bearing lateral branches in some distance from the ground. Yes, when you look at some of the pine trees, they are so tall. They are above everything, including the lines out there that come into my house in terms for my electricity and my cable. And every time the people come, they'd say, well, yes, we're going to trim them back. They don't get next to those lines because the trees are too close to them. They don't do it. So I don't know if I'll ever get those things taken care of. But I would like to see them cut back further. So Joan loves trees, Ardelia trees. Okay. So anyway, a tree, it also says it has a sapling, it's a conifer, it's a bush, because trees sometimes begin as bushes and they grow into trees. That's what happened to my cedars. When I bought the house, I had 2 cedars on each side. Well, one cedar became so huge, and during one of the hurricanes, it decided to take a dive. And it didn't bother my neighbor's house, but it fell in their direction. So of course, we had to cut it up and get rid of it. But then on the other side, I still have another cedar. But now because it grew up and whoever planted it closer to the house than it should have been further out, or they just let it get too high before they decided to look at it. So now it kind of leans away from the house, but it's pretty and it smells good. It does smell good. So it says, so there's shrubs, there's evergreen, and there's oak. Now I have a big oak one up front now that I'm Oak is one of the protected trees in the state of Florida. There are others, but it is one of them. So I don't know what's going to happen eventually. But good morning. Good morning, Nita. How are you? Good to see you in the space. Good to see you in the space. We're having fun this morning. We're talking about trees. Now, here's what I do with trees. Trees I symbolize as some of the people in our lives. Some of the people in our lives stand tall. Okay? They are rooted well. They have branches which they give away as means of saying, I am extending myself to you. You can't do anything with that but say that's wonderful that there are people out there like that see themselves as a tree that is rooted well and as a way and a means of getting information. Trees to me, like the rings in the tree, they said the rings on the inside of a tree, if you were to cut it straight over across from left to right or front to back, you would see that the rings also determine the number of years that it has lived. So that's us. Certainly you can't cut us like that, but if you listen to somebody that's wise, if you listen that somebody is well rooted and they're willing to give information to others, they're like a tree, fully planted, fully capable of giving information that feeds those who will come behind them or with them or even ahead of them. Because I feel that wisdom is exchanged between both the have that don't have the information and the have nots that need the information. That's the way it's done. So anyway, when we move on in our word, we come up with the T. My T is for trunk. You can't do anything else with it but say trunk. The trunk, it's the main and it's the woody stem of a tree as distinct from its branches and its roots. So its roots are I'll say that they're the nutritional source coming in. The water and all the nutrients in the ground are going to come in through the roots. But the trunk is the sturdiness and the foundation of the tree. So it talks about it being the main stem, the bole, which is BOLE and not BOWL. It's the bole, and it's also the stock. And usually when we think about even stock, when we're going to make a good soup, it's full of nutrients that have been infused in it based on what was prepared prior. Was it a chicken? Was it beef? What was it? And all those things go together to form the base of a tree. Is similar to the stock that has been prepared. So it's what's consumed in it, what makes it to be strong and sturdy and capable of giving so many things off in the air and because it says that it does what they call like a rerooting by some of its seedlings going elsewhere. And so that's why you start with one tree or one flower, you end up having a lot of trees and a lot of flowers because of the I think it's called germination. It's called germination. We move on in our word this morning. Oh, we got treasure from Joan. It is. Do you have a lot of trees? If you have a lot of trees in your yard, right, multiple trees in my yard or whatever you want to put. Do you have trees? I got rid of a lot of trees because the insurance company told me I had far too many therefore it made it a higher risk that my home would be damaged by the trees being so close to the house. So we had to get rid of a lot of the pines. That's what we had. We had mostly pine trees. So anyway, when we move on in our word, my R of tree is called the root. The root is the part of the plant of the tree which attaches to the ground or to support it. Basically, it is the anchor. It says typically underground, conveying water and nourishment to the rest of the plant or the tree via numerous branches and fibers. Isn't that interesting? How we don't really know what goes on underground, but something has to be going on in order for something to live. That's the same thing with us. If we don't put in the right nutrients or take care of our bodies right, we end up being sick. And so, something, forms in us that we don't fight off right away, or eventually maybe we cannot fight off, such as cancers. It's always so interesting to me. I am a cancer survivor, and I'm a person that I try to eat pretty good. Sometimes not as good, but I generally will eat crazy stuff that people don't eat. But then I'm fussy when it comes to the things that are more traditional, like my toast needs to be toasted. Anyway, I'm not going to get on me this morning, but anyway, the root talks about it being the root stock, the rhizome, the roots, the tuber, the taprot, and the rotlet. So all of those have to do with the root of a plant or root of a tree. And they always say that usually trees are well rooted, meaning that they have all of the capability to keep the tree alive, even though when you look at some of the roots on a even if you do it as simply as a plant, the roots are thin and long, and they're able to pull in all the things that they need to in order for the tree or the flower to be sustained. But the interesting thing about a tree is that I've even watched them where the tree roots get so large that they will uproot concrete. That means it's fierce. That's a fierce root. But they'll uproot concrete, and you see it where they're coming up out of grass, and they basically changed the orientation of how everything else looks in a particular area, only because they have grown profusely. Radiant. Oh, that's a good word. I like radiant. Radiant is to me something like with a glow to it, with an ability to really make you pay attention when something is radiant. When we move on in our word of trees, my first E is the fact it's of the earth. The tree is of the earth, which is the substance of the land and the surface and the soil. So trees they're even more a part of what I would call the granulation of the earth, or the grandstanding of the earth, than we are. We're above the terrain that we walk on, and the soil we walk on that. But the trees grow out of it. They grow out of it, which makes it really an interesting concept of how we live. Then trees are living just like animals are living. We're just a more an intellectual portion of the animal kingdom. But it says that we would understand the usefulness of the land that we live in, which and the earth that we live upon. And so it says that we watch the soil, the topsoil, the loam, the silt, the dirt, the sod, the turf, the ground, and the clod. All of that is a part of the earth that we watch, and we look at it. Yes, we can talk about the entire world, which would be the earth that they show on any kind of scientific programming or maps or whatever. But when you're talking about the earth itself, you're talking about the soil. No tree can function well without soil. It is going to die. In New York, where I'm from, they had an area that it just felt like, and it was a locust type infestation that they had, and there was an area where all the trees just looked like it just took out. They were all taken out by whatever this insect was, and ultimately, what happened is that when you rode through it, it looked almost like a dead forest. It was captivating. But on the other hand, it had a scary approach to it. It's like, dang, something can do that. But it can, like that's why farmers are always worried about what new infestations are coming out that might, spoil crops, or spoil not just the crop for this year, but for next year, because in some instances, some things take a period of a year and a half to 2 years, or even trees, like especially Christmas trees, it takes them a long time to grow up where people would actually purchase them put in and display in their home at Christmas time. So it's just interesting. I love all of this stuff. My second E, energy. Yeah, energy is good because to me, we get energy from what we see, what we can touch, what we feel. That's energy. And to me, if I lived in an area where there were no trees, I don't know how I would be. I even like seeing flowers, even though up until you know this year I haven't really put flowers out. I used to put them out all the time, and then I stopped because I think a hurricane or two had taken up all of the beautiful area that I had placed out front. And I said, you know what, I can't keep up with that. That gets to be expensive. All the timbers went, all of the boarding, and so I said, I'll come again. So now I'm doing it where I have these poles, and I like it better with the poles because I can always take them down, put them in the garage, or put them inside the front door here so that they won't be messed up. Because a good hurricane will mess your plants up, period. Oh, embrace. I love embrace, how we would embrace anything that we see. And it makes us I don't know, happy. I mean, to see trees makes me happy, and flowers. It does. When we move further on in our word, I have for my second E of trees is embedded. And the reason I used embedded, it said because embedded is fixed firmly and deeply in a surrounding mass. Trees they're deeply surrounded in dirt. You won't find a tree hanging out in water. It can't live. It's not enough. It has to have the soil of which it will be embedded further in order to make it be continue to be alive. You know, so it says that when something is embedded, it says it means it's fixed, it's ingrained. Like some of the trees now, and I know it's not just in Florida, but in other areas of the country, they actually are. They have a limit or they give you a warrant for your arrest if you cut down trees. Especially, I think oaks were one of them. I don't know about maples because I know I have a maple tree in the back, but I know oak tree are they're like number one because they have a tendency to be very stately and huge, and they're dramatic to look at. If you look at them, they are just beautiful, especially if you see a whole street lined with nothing but oaks. And we have a street here on 12th Avenue, and it's known, I think it's probably online as one of the features of the area, that when you start it all the trees are just perfectly lined all the way down that form a beautiful arch, a beautiful green arch of leaves as you're driving through. It's like it's its own little runway. It's beautiful, very, very pretty. So elegant, that would be that area. I consider that area to be very elegant, and that would be true, Joan. So embedded says is that it's fixed, it's ingrained, it's been installed, it is planted, it's encapsulated, it's enclosed, it's nested. That's what we see when we see all of those areas that pretty much speak to what the trees do. It says it also comes with, or it has this whole thing of it being, just nestled in such a way that it's not going to move. When trees come down, that means there's a weakness someplace. The wind was able to overtake what the ability for the tree to sustain it. And when at one time I think Ivan came through the area and it destroyed it. I think they said practically every home in the area had blue tarp on them. Why? That's because they really think it was like a very high number of strength for what was coming through our Pensacola. And I like, wow. And I remember being in the house just like this. Like, okay, I was in my little closet area, my daughter and I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And I had to get a new roof, you know. Now I need another new roof because, now they have this new thing on. They want roofs to be less than 15 years old. So I'm about to do that. That's my next project. So my last one for my S is for shade. That's what trees are able to do for us, to give us shade, to sit up under them. And it says shade is a comparative darkness and coolness caused by the shelter from the direct sunlight. That's what we get. I always said that the tree out front, I was going to put a chair under it and like a bench. I haven't done it yet because it would be an invitation for others, but not me. Once again, I had that whole thing about things falling. But I just think it would be just beautiful to look at, to see the tree and the bench and some flowers out front. Just quaint, very, very quaint. So my shade says that it's going to give us shadow, coolness, shelter, cover, and shadiness. That's what we get when we sit up under a tree. And sometimes we are looking for trees because the sun is so bright. Scenery. Oh yeah, that's a really good word. When we look at trees, it is a part of the scenery that we see. Even when you look out your own windows, I'm quite sure all of you see something. You see, beauty that only, to me, God can create. He gives it to us, the ideas to put stuff down, but in terms of the growth, and we keep tending to it, he makes sure that it still continues to give us that view that we want to see. And the fact that we can get shade from that, and to me, visual pleasure, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I'm hoping that you all have some trees near your houses, or you pay attention to the trees that you see. And I know they don't have a voice because they're not human, living spirits, but they still have, to me, a magicalness about them that when you look at them, I mean, I'm looking at my window at the one now, they're just beautiful. And when the way the sun falls on the leaves, and even when the rain comes, sometimes I can just sit out my window, and I can sit at my window and look out and see how the rain bends the leaves and they come back up, and bends them and they come back up. So anyway, I am a lover of what I see and what I feel. And I'm hoping that you are also a lover of the same things that make you happy. And trees are one of the things that make me happy when I'm outside. But anyway, solitude. Oh, that's a great word. How much solitude do we even gather? Do we even get, from the quietness of trees? Trees are quiet. Flowers are quiet. The breeze is quiet, unless it's you're in a storm. Then you understand what the difference is. But yes, but thank you so much for coming today. I'm always here, always trying to do. I make my Monday, Wednesday, Friday every week. Now next week, Monday, I'm going to take off for Memorial Day, so I won't be here Monday, but I will be back next Wednesday and Friday, and I will be back this Friday. So this Friday we'll have another word to bring you. And I'm hoping that you are enjoying this. If you don't have to pay me anything, I'm not asking for any money, but if you don't mind, send hit that share button and let somebody know that there's a Sandy out here, Dr. Winnie, that's just trying to impart knowledge, add some I would say some oomph to your day, and make it exciting about the words that we know and how words connect us with not just our ability to speak, but our ability to speak with almost anybody. Okay? I love you guys. I appreciate you. Have a good couple of days, and I'll see you on Friday. Thank you. Bye-bye.